You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, a strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, this is iWalter on Thursday, July 9th at 2:24 a.m. Yeah, I was off yesterday. I really had nothing to talk about. I woke up today and there was a lot to talk about almost, which I'm not going to make it too long because when I try to read stories, they just never turn out right. I'm going to try to tonight also. I did a test on this, at least having some ventilation here. It's very humid outside. We have the air on. I have my fan circulating the air in my room right now, so that does not pick it up. I'm hoping. I'm just going to continue to try to do that on these hot nights like this. Yeah, unfortunately, I woke up, or my mother woke me up this afternoon, or this morning, to find out that she had some blood works done. And she realized now, which I'm not surprised, but she actually has she has diabetes, and I'm not shocked because the way she eats a lot of candy, sweets, a lot of sugar, more so than I do, and I have my consumption of sugar, but not to the extent that she does. And you know, I think me and my father both think the same, that we're not surprised. Now she's going to really be forced to watch, because once you are diagnosed of being a diabetic, it's not something you can actually reverse that I know of. So she could have easily avoided it, but she wished to just do whatever she wanted. Now, I mean, I'll joke and about friends who tell me how to eat, but for the most part, believe it or not, I don't eat as bad as my mother, I guess. My father is really conscious about what he eats, so I'll have to give him credit on that one. So he's never had that come up. I mean, runs in my family about high blood pressure and cholesterol, but anything else that's something you could actually control if you try, and she really did not wish to up to this point. Anyway, it was kind of interesting because I woke up, I think a friend left me a message about this, and then I heard it on Rush, which was kind of funny. This afternoon, I started listening to it, at least tonight. Was that apparently the stock market had crashed, or not crashed. I shouldn't say that. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it was on the Blitz. Basically, the computer stuff that runs the stock exchange was, obviously everybody heard about that probably by now. Was on the Glitz, and then also, because I'm reading from Rush's thing, he also mentioned United Airlines was also down today because of a computer glitch. And a friend, when he told me this, he kind of made the half-joking measure of maybe it's not really a glitch, maybe it's like, you know, the Russians or the Chi-coms that are causing this. And that actually is not far from what I guess other people may be speculating, so to speak. So I wouldn't be surprised, I'll tell you that much. Anyway, there was an article that, speaking on that, it was on the dailymail.com, and it's titled, Think Greece's Economy is the one in trouble. It states, well, the title is, it's China that's facing a financial meltdown and the biggest stock market crash since the Great Depression. So, you know, the highlights on this was nearly $3 trillion wiped off Chinese stock markets in just the last few weeks. And it says the government and the investors launched a campaign to prop up tumbling shares. Well, you know what? I hate to say it. I think Rush mentioned this. The U.S. has been doing that for a long time, too. They've been, propping up stumbling stocks to make it look like the stock market is actually doing better than it really is. And apparently I was shocked to read this myself just now, that it seems like the Chinese stock market's doing the exact same thing we've been doing. So, what's yet to come, which I want to mention in a minute because I saw something on somebody's Facebook page I had to take and give to a few friends. But it says the government and the investors launched campaign to prop up the tumble in shares, which I read. Booming stock markets had more than doubled in the last year to mid-June. Experts draw parallels with the credit booms that led up to the 1929 crash. Well, we're having the same thing right now. It hasn't crashed yet, but it is just a matter of time. It says analysts, and this is from the Daily Mail, I've never seen such a kind of slump before. Don't you think anyone has? So, yeah, that was on the Daily Mail if you want to read the rest of that one. But, we're definitely headed in that same direction. Obviously it's just a matter of time, but it's going to happen. So I'm actually looking at Rush has his own Facebook page, and he was making a joke, so to speak, about it has Sulu in there too, or what do you call his name? George Takei. And it's a must read, the new totalitarians. Basically, and it's titled, and they're bake me a cake with an exclamation point. This whole shenanigans about, it's all right for same-sex marriage couples to sue over you not wanting to make them a cake because it's against your religion, but it is it's not tolerated or it's inappropriate for you to speak out on your belief. They can only speak out on their side. So, I just saw that. Anyway, the thing that really caught my attention, I actually watched the video that was put up, and it was somebody, anonymously in, one of these must-see things, who warns, it's titled, Anonymous Warns U.S. Citizens to Get Ready for a Disaster. And normally when I look at that stuff, I kind of shrub it off. But especially when the guy is not showing his face, I've seen these things before, and he or she, could be a woman, you don't know, because of the voice is not the same as being shown on the video. Basically mentions about the way our economy is just going to crash. We're going to basically be like what happened what sounded like what he was talking about, what happened when USSR basically broke up, and people were standing in lines for food because there was no food to buy in the grocery markets and stuff, and basically the stock market really will crash, and that's what he was stating, and I was like, okay, you know what? I hate to say it, and he has on the what do you call it? I want to say V for Vendetta, but that's not really Guy Fawkes mask. And I hate to say it, a lot of what he was saying was absolutely true. So that's what makes it really scary. I think it woke up the woman who had taken it and posted on her webpage and was like, you know what? She's, has the right to be scared because this is actually true. This is going to happen probably. Not probably, it will happen at the direction we're going now with the person we have in power, which is, Barack Hussein Obama. It's going to happen. He's just made our country a disaster. And this person who spoke out in this video, by the way, I don't know if I gave you the link, so I'm going to try to go back real quick because I was looking for another article. But what he said was absolute. He or she, I don't know, the anonymous person, was on Anonymous Warns Most Extreme News.com. Normally, those people who had the V for Vendetta mask or anti-Republican. This time they were anti-Democrat, which was really shocking, and socialist, which our country has become, because everything they spoke about was against the Democrat side and this whole socialist movement that Obama has started or has been pointing us towards, which we are there now. So it was kind of shocking, and it definitely kept my attention. It was like they even this person mentions about that, they're not giving you the true numbers, the amount of people that are unemployed. And they mentioned about like that 93 million mark. And they said, well, it's not 5%. It's more like 15 or 25% is the percentage of people that are out of work. And it's like, well, that's a lot better. It's probably more like, I think it was 42.9%. But, this person was actually at least speaking more so correctly than the news has been doing. And I think they're going to start to wake up soon, too, when this thing starts. I mean, it's happening around us with other countries where they collapsed. And we're just basically, thanks to this government we have, this new world order that came about from President Obama, this is going to happen. Now, this person who was speaking anonymously, they think it's going to happen by 2016. And I'd have to agree, because it's gotten so bad. I think he's not too far off on that, too. Basically saying by next year, we're going to be worse off than, I guess, now China, that we thought would be a lot stronger than they are. And I was thinking more on the lines of Greece. So they were kind of pointing in that direction. And I think they're absolutely correct. This anonymous speaker again. Sorry, I had to scratch my back. There was something on right-wing news. There was a couple other sources. I actually wanted to do a show before work, at least a couple minutes, and our power's been going out every day at 3 o'clock. I don't know what's going on with that. The power grid, the whole power goes down within our house. It's happened 2 days in a row. So anyway, I was going to mention this before work. Now I'm going to mention it now. And this basically is, again, it's basically supporting what Donald Trump has said, about the illegals. And this is like, hey, not to make a cliche pun, but it's true. It's titled, it's on right-wing news. It says, previously deported illegal immigrant held in grisly double murder of girlfriend and her child. Well, this guy, because I think Rush was talking about it the other day. This guy has been deported like several times, and he was already deported out of those several times for murdering 3 other women, and now he has murdered a woman and its child. So what I assume would be the 4th, and with the child would be a 5th person he has killed. But yet he's always coming back into the country. And they just throw him out, and he comes right back in because there's nobody to stop him. So I think this is the one, though. I feel this is the closest, because I didn't bother to look on Rush for this one. I was going to read this afternoon, though. Anyway, it says the Tri-City Herald reports 25-year-old, I can't pronounce his name, it's not even that important, was charged with murdering 18-year-old Maria G. Cruz and her 3-year-old son, and by first shooting them and then setting them on fire. So, you know what? And it just makes me think, because I don't know what it is about the females in our country, in the U.S., but they seem to flock for these, quote unquote, the bad boys, the bad guys, the ones that will really physically abuse them. And they look at me like I'm some type of perverted sex offender. And I think Rush kind of stated that with some celebrities on the news that he mentioned the other day, that, you're like a Puritan, so to speak. You don't believe in sex before marriage and things like that. I forget who he mentioned. You're considered like a weirdo, but if you're some like sexual deviant person, which I'm going to try to look for that article, you're considered like a hero. And he actually did mention that. I think I put that on my Facebook page. Anyway, the child's 4th birthday would have been this past Thursday, but obviously that's not going to happen because he was shot and didn't burn to death. The coroner reported as saying the child was likely still alive when he was set aflame. So there you go. This is what these our females of this country flock for. You know, these really sick, perverted people. And yet, if you're a normal guy, good luck on finding, you know, a significant other, meaning for me, like a girlfriend or a possible wife, because, you know, if you're normal, you're actually considered a wacko. And Rush actually said that. I can't find that now. I thought I could find that article, at least on my Facebook page, but apparently not. So I'm going to have to dig deeper while I'm online. It's not a big deal, but kind of is to me. So give me a minute, because I did actually have some interesting things to read. Okay, I'm back on Rush's page, but I got to go really far back now. Because it was like, again, it was like, now it's more like 2 days ago. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Rush wrote this on the 7th, and he says, anyone remember the war on women, which it was titled. I'm not going to really, I just was curious about the names, honestly, though. Yeah, he basically said there's a lot of confusion today with people, I guess, so to speak. And he was mentioning, the thing with, you know, Bill Cosby, and he said that was something with the statute of limitations. And then he also mentions people like Clinton, who, you know, they're both sexual predators, perverts, whatever, and yet they get held up as being heroes. I thought it was Clarence Thomas. Yeah, it is. Now, Clarence Thomas, who he's dating right now, I can't remember her name. He's considered a weirdo because he wants to wait until, you know, it's Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas. Now, he's waiting. He told her, listen, you know, I believe in the old way of of God and stuff, that, you know, sex before marriage is prohibited. You know, we won't have sex until we would possibly get married, which, you know, works out that way. And I respect that, but, you know, even Rush said the people, like the news is looking at him like, what's wrong with him? You know, he has to wait till have sex after, you know, until he can't have sex until he's married. It was like, well, you know what? I have a lot of respect for a man like that. So, but apparently that's looked down upon nowadays. There was something I sent to a friend. I'm seeing if I have it. Which I thought was really disturbing. Yeah, here it is. I found my article, And it was on the Dreamin' Demon. And I can't believe this, though. With the percentage of, like, these female teachers constantly having sex with underage kids, and these are married women who have children of their own, they blew this really out of the water, this story. And it's Port Townsend, Washington, where a 13-year-old boy now has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree rape, a 13-year-old, on a 7-year-old. Now, apparently, if you're a 35-year-old, a 40-some-year-old, this 50-some-year-old woman sexually assaulting a young boy, apparently that's looked at like, you know, why are you complaining? Because that's actually giving the kid a good education. Here is somebody, 2 kids, they're both minors. I'm not saying it's right. Something made this kid believe he could do it. But, yeah, they're trying this kid. They're going to put him in juvenile hall, but they're sentencing him. They're giving him, like, a really stiff sentence for, like, it would be equivalent to being, like, 2 years in prison. Now, a woman gets a slap on the wrist, a fine that she can afford to pay off. Now you're talking to a 13-year-old boy, though, who is severely getting punished for now sexually assaulting. Like that's prohibited. Like the things, okay. And a friend of mine, he actually, he said, oh, they should kill that boy. He should be raped and killed. It's like, that is really, like, I can't answer for his comment. I'm not going to say anything else. I can't answer to that because I think that's just ridiculous. So you want to see a 13-year-old boy who really doesn't know any better. He's 13 years old. He does not know any better. You want to see him put to death or mutilated or sexually assaulted, like he sexually jumped this girl or whatever. They're calling it sexual assault. And they're throwing the book at this 13-year-old. They basically want to try him as an adult is what I'm gathering. Because I'm putting this in my own words. I think it works a little bit more coherently than me trying to read this. So that makes no sense to me. A 13-year-old is going to get crucified for sexually assaulting a little girl. He's 13, she's 7. They're both underage. They're both beyond minors. One's a preteen and one's a tween, one's a preteen. But they're both like little kids. They don't know any better. They must have learned this somehow. Maybe he learned this from someone else, because I can't imagine this kid just like, okay, I'm just going to go and, like, how did he get this in his mind he could rape somebody? But he should be severely punished, torn apart, and abused. And you hold up these women that, I mean, you don't see this. Am I the only one who sees this? A 13-year-old, a 30-year-old, a late 20s woman who's a school teacher in authority, or a 30-some-year-old, or a 40-some-year-old, and now like 50, 60-year-olds raping these little kids that are boys. But that's looked at like, hey, I wish I had people like that when I went to school. So I'm actually really missing the point. So maybe somebody can explain that to me, because I don't understand how you want to, like, severely, brutally abuse a 13-year-old who sexually assaulted somebody, but you want to hold a woman who does the same type of misdemeanor up on a pedestal. Now, I'm sure somebody would say, well, women are more, they're not as aggressive as males are. You don't know what this 13-year-old looked like. Well, let me see. He's a 13-year-old child, and you're going to make the, accusation that this kid could have been like built like a Wolverine or something, like he was built like some type of sumo wrestler. Possibly, but I seriously doubt it. It's not always the case, but you always imagine the worst for the males, and you victimize every time you hear the word woman or female. So you got to stop doing that, especially in a case like this. This is a clear-cut case of, there is something definitely wrong with our justice system, that people actually validate a woman sexually assaulting a kid. But you put the worst scrutiny on a child who does it. Now, I mean, I could understand if the kid was 16, 17, or 18, but you're talking a 13-year-old. So you really need to look at that, and I think you should address that in a definite, in a different outlook than what most people are. So that's just me. And you know what? One thing I was thinking of when I saw that thing with the guy or woman, I'm trying to be fair with the anonymous person who warned, about the U.S., I was thinking to myself, if this guy, which I think he's pretty close to the truth, like if I would have a scale, I think it would definitely lean more towards the truth of what he or she was saying. Then I would say that it was leaning towards this guy or female has no clue what they're talking about. So I lean it more towards the truth side. This will probably happen. So I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I couldn't remember at first. I had to look it up. It kind of reminds me what Judas did from the Bible to Jesus Christ. Judas sold Christ, to the Romans, And that's what caused Jesus Christ's being, basically what came about. He got crucified. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if the people who had wronged me, beg for my forgiveness, or, hey, can you help me? Because I have nothing. I'm like dirt poor now. I'm basically I can't even scrounge enough money together to buy a piece of dirt. I'm just hypothetically speaking. Do you think I'm going to lean over and say, well, you know what? I'm going to forgive you for you treat me like shit and just pretending that I don't even exist, and I'm just going to forget all that and just help you? And I hate to say it, I would just let let it go the direction let them suffer from, what they had done to me. Almost like what Christ did. Now, Christ basically said, you don't basically, I guess, what is it? He who lives by the sword shall die by the sword. Basically, don't act the same way they had treated you. If they mistreated you, don't mistreat them. Well, I hate to tell you, I didn't say I wouldn't mistreat them, but I am certainly not going to go out of my way to help somebody who I'm just hypothetically speaking, if this never came about and things were still going great, I would still not exist. But when things go wrong, then all of a sudden you realize, hey, yeah, Walter, I realize you're there. Can you help me out? I would just have to say, well, you know what? I'm really sorry. I can't help you. And I've done that before. I've really done that before. So for these people who just pretend like I don't exist, well, guess what? Since I don't exist, I can't help you, right? So that's where that's where it's going to lie with me. If I'm better off than they are, and all of a sudden they want my help, I'm just going to have to refuse it. That's just as me. I think I have a friend or two who's like that too. I think they think the same way. And I like the way Howard Stern used to put it. When somebody wronged him, he said he used to just, in his mind, he pretended that they had passed away. I might have mentioned this before, and that he had buried them and seen them, went to their viewing, their funeral, and that they don't exist anymore. So if he sees them, it can't be them, because in his mind, they died and they were buried and they no longer exist. That's the same way I'm going to act towards those people when that happens, when our economy does collapse and people come to me, if that may be, and say, hey, can you help me out because I'm really hard up for money, or I need help. I'll say, who are you? I don't even know who you are. I will do that too, trust me. I won't forget. So I just had to put that in there. That was like the main stories that were like just sticking out in my mind that were pretty harsh. And I did want to comment on that one, and the thing about the kid especially too. But there was one I wanted to read next, and I'm trying to look for it. I keep on going back and forth. Oh, yeah, it was a film on a lighter note, so I had to look it up. I actually did purchase it today on Amazon because I've been looking for this. I'm a big Cure fan. I used to love Susie and the Banshees, and it was like I was trying to get this to play on snagfilms.com, and it wouldn't start. And I'm like trying to do it now, and it's not working. So it doesn't matter because I bought it now for like $7 on Amazon, where you can download it. So, and you own it, the streaming thing. So I figured, you know what? Screw it. If it's not going to work on my computer, it's no big deal because I'll just buy it for the $7. I'm not going to steal it. You couldn't even find it anyway. So I haven't told you yet, but it's a film called Blue Sunshine, and it was about like a little scare tactic about LSD, and the LSD was like bad. It was bad LSD that was basically called Blue Sunshine. So I'm going to see if I can find. I thought it was out in '79. I own it. I could just look there, but that's online. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing that up is because I said I was a big Cure fan, and I was like, okay, it has the same type of look to it as, you know, the album put out called Blue Sunshine by a mock group, whatever you want to call it, from, okay, it says 1978, from Robert Smith of The Cure and the rest of the members for this band called The Glove, were from Susie's band, Susie and the Banshees band. So anyway, I was looking for the film for the longest time, probably for quite a long time. I just recently found out about the Blue Sunshine movie, though, and lo and behold, they did say they got the name for the album. There was a one-deal album for this group called The Glove. They got the name and the ideas for the album off of this movie. And again, it was like these people got bad acid, and it basically made their hair fall out, and they made them go nuts and turn them into psychotic killers. So, yeah, it says a man, Zellman King, accused of murder, tries to stop hairless people driven to kill by bad LSD in college. So it wasn't the greatest film, but it was definitely, it was pretty interesting. And it was definitely pretty disturbing, too. But, yeah, you couldn't find the film for years. And then finally, they said the initial DVD release was back in April 15th, 2003. But it's been out of print for a long time. Now they finally put it at least so you can download it. You can purchase it online, you know, through iTunes. Well, it says Google Play, YouTube, Amazon Instant Video. I ended up just getting on Amazon Instant Video and bought it because if I rent it and I don't watch it or I want to watch it again, I can watch it anytime I want. Yeah, and it says underneath when I'm looking for like a search on Google, it says underneath the movie, it says see results about Blue Sunshine album by The Glove. So, yeah, they got some of their ideas from the Beatles for this album called The Glove, and it was actually mentioned, the Beatles was mentioned in the movie of Blue Sunshine, but the album that was put out by The Glove was called Blue Sunshine. But it was kind of interesting because there was looks like Zellman King, he's the main character, Deborah Winters, but Mark Goddard played her. He actually was in Lost in Space, and I wasn't sure, but it now says, yeah, it was him. Robert Walden and Charles Shelbert. But, yeah, it was a weird movie, but, yeah, I ended up watching that tonight. The one actress, she wasn't bad looking back then. She actually looks better now than she did back in the late 70s. She looks more attractive, I was going to say. A lot more. Can't even tell. Can't believe it's the same woman. But yeah, that's like one for your list, I guess. I would say to watch. Sorry about that. I put this on my Facebook page, but then I didn't bother to read it. And now I wish I kind of did. It's on moviepilot.com, and it says the guy John Barthol, whatever. He's the guy who played in The Walking Dead, the bad cop who I guess I heard he got eventually killed, that character, which he got killed a lot sooner in the graphic novels, from what I understand. Who's going to play the Punisher, says that he's John's teases what kind of Punisher we're seeing in Daredevil. So there's an article on that. He's been reading up on it a lot. So, and they're actually bringing an Elektra into season 2 of Daredevil. So it should be pretty interesting. I'm just trying to lighten up the mood a little bit. I'll find something dark again, I'm sure. This was kind of funny. I didn't really read the whole thing. I just got the gist. It was on stopmasturbation.org. or stop masturbation now.org, and it said masturbation awakens dormant black hole. I mean, it's a gag page, but I just love it. So yeah. It says masturbation has been a long proven top 10 cause of disease, a gateway to drug to rape, and the leading cause of homosexuality and erosion of family values. However, we are just now realizing the damage that masturbation does to our environment. So, yeah, and it just goes on to say that after 26 years of keeping it quiet, the monster black hole has finally woken up, and its energy bursts have been detected by the faith of scientists at Wyoming Institute. Wyoming, yeah, of technology. The black hole is located in the Milky Way and is located in the Milky Way and is located in the constellation Cygnus. Anyway, it's just kind of funny. They kind of relate it to masturbation. It's a joke page, so they're not supposed to take it seriously. Yeah, this was pretty interesting. It was in the morning call. I sent it to two friends on my Facebook page. People I actually really know, too, by the way. Anyway, it says, it's titled, "It Stinks. Septic truck crashes into Upper Buck's house and leaks fluid." So you know what that smells like. I don't even know what to tell you. But yeah. It shows it's got a video and a picture, but the septic tank, and it's not one of those cheap homes. It's a really big house. It goes right through the freaking house. I think they make some punny jokes that they actually put in there, "It's a crappy day." So they try to make fun. It's like, well, I don't think the people are laughing who got a shit truck knocked through their house, that stuff seeped all over inside their house. That house is like basically ruined. So... But yeah, that was on the morning call. It's a local newspaper. Yeah. So this one was kind of neat too. I'm going to look at it and say, like, what are you talking about? Because I don't see what you see. This was also on the movie pilot, because I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. Excuse me. It's titled, 30 years ago, Back to the Future predicted how these stars might look as middle-aged adults. Check out just how close they got. Well, I hate to say it, most of them look much better than what they anticipated them to look like. And personally, I think the one who really looks good, he doesn't seem to age whatsoever, is the one who played George McFly. I think that would be George McFly. The dad, Crispin Glover. He actually looks really no different than he did back then. And that guy is like, he makes me look normal. He really is just like totally nuts. I don't mean that in the bad way, but he's just a real nut job. But he's very entertaining, to say the least. But he looks just, to me, he looks just the same that he did when he did years ago. Yeah, so there are some nonsense stories I just put on my webpage. I didn't read them. One was some guy just made, it's titled that, literally. So some guy just made a playable record out of a tortilla. So not only we got illegals coming in our country, I'm not saying this guy is, I'm just being sarcastic, but he actually makes a vinyl, 12-inch vinyl sized tortilla that actually can play music. And it actually is pretty clever in many ways. I'm not going to read that one. Another one, I just want to keep it lighthearted, so I'm just going to read the title. It was on FoxNews.com. House moves to ban Confederate flags in federal cemeteries now. So if you're dead, you can't even be honored for after you pass away. They're trying to put a ban on Confederate flags even on your gravesite. So that's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, some lighter note ones. Again, I'm actually not looking forward to this because there's a lot of kids shows I will watch all the way through that I just really love. There was one that was called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark or something. Or Are You Afraid of the Dark, I think. It was a Canadian show, believe it or not. I'm not even joking, because I always make jokes about Canadians, but this one really was made in Canada. There's a couple shows from Canada I really liked. Like Todd and the Pure Book of Evil. That was from Canada. But it was Goosebumps. I think Goosebumps was actually more U.S., but there was one episode I seen either on Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark that was really good. I just was flipping through the channels one time, and I got so intrigued by this one episode because it was really depressing that I had to figure it out. So I ended up buying secondhand copies that people recorded, because at the point that I started watching the show, even when I was watching, was off for years, of even Are You Afraid of the Dark. And by the way, that was made in Canada. I purchased them off somebody on that one website called Esty or something, or it's something like that. Anyway, there was a lot of episodes that were missing. They said, "Oh yeah, it's the complete series." I was like, "No, it isn't." And they actually did release those now all on DVD, but not in U.S. The U.S. they released them over in Europe. So I do have a region-free Blu-ray player, so it doesn't play the Blu-rays correctly, but it does play the DVD, so I'd be fine. But bottom line is, I like to get those when I can afford to. I'd love to buy those again just to watch them and see the ones I actually missed. It was a really good show for a kids' show. These kids would go around a campfire, tell their different stories, and they were really good. That was Are You Afraid of the Dark? So the reason I brought that up anyway is now they're talking about they made a movie that'll be out soon. It was on BloodyDisgusting.com, of all places, for Goosebumps. And they have a trailer for the movie, and I'm watching it. And I should have known, because it has Jack Black in there. I was like, okay, the guy looked familiar, and it was I started watching the trailer before I even seen Jack Black's name. I was like, wait a minute. They made this into a comedy, and it's they got to do that for older series, but this is a kid's storyline. It's based upon kids' books. Now, the interesting fact is they took every monster or creature or whatever it was from the TV series, or from the books, and they incorporated them that they all escaped from the books, and they came alive, and they were loose in this town, so to speak. So I was okay, you changed it into a comedy. Now, I used to watch what I can. I think it's on Netflix. You can actually watch Goosebumps, at least, on Netflix. Some of those were really good. They were pretty good. Even for a kid show, they can kind of creep you out. And I mean, they're for tweens. But it's really good. And they now made it into it looks like it's going to be a horrible comedy. And speaking about that, there was a picture up now where, what is it, Ghostbusters, they are remaking that. I'm already not looking forward to that. I love those Ghostbuster movies. I loved Sigourney Weaver, too. That definitely helped. But they just look really bad. There was some main character in there that was a woman. She was the secretary for the Ghostbusters. They changed that character into a male. And it's okay, this is already not a good sign. And then they show a picture. I forget where it is. Here it is. I found it. I'm sorry. It's on comicbook.com. They show you the new Ghostbusters car. And basically what they did is they got I guess the original one was that way too, some type of hearse, but it doesn't, it's old, it's an older car, but it doesn't have the same appeal as the original one did. So I just think it's going to probably be pretty bad. I'm hoping it won't be. It doesn't really need to be remade either. I thought they were going to, it was supposed to be technically Ghostbusters 4. Anyway, since I was off from yesterday, I don't know, this has been spreading about that man who played, does the guy Jarrett, who did all the Subway commercials. He was up on, he got caught with a bunch of child porn. So he's not looking too pretty right now. In fact, yeah, he's in a lot of hot water because they found quite a few tapes on child porn in his possession. So I don't know what else to say. I was going to go back to the darker stories, but you can't help it sometimes. Oh, this was Moeller. Okay, yeah, I just have to look at this. It was on Dream and Demon. I was not going to really read it. It says, police say witnesses stopped Christopher Moeller from raping a girl, 14-year-old, and I made a joke of a friend. Yeah, but this guy, it's not the same story I was telling you before about this kid raping a young kid, but they were both kids. This guy is actually 22 years old, this Christopher Moeller, and the girl was only 14. I made a joke with a friend. I said, yeah, he's Patty Mullins, not Moeller, but I was making a joke. I thought it said Mullen at first. Patty Mullen from Frankenhooker, her brother, but his name's Moeller. Hers is Mullen. So, joke didn't go over too well. Not looking forward to this, by the way, either, but Marissa Tomei is basically supposed to play Aunt May in the new upcoming Spider-Man reboot. And my response to that was, Marissa Tomei is like, I think she still is. She's like an incredibly hot-looking woman. Italian, too, so I'm Italian. And I remember her from being in, what do you call that movie? It was My Cousin Vinny, where she wore like this really skin-tight, slinky dress, and she acted like she had she was like not very bright and everything else. And I'm like, I made a joke with somebody. I said, is she going to wear like this tight, slinky dresses as Aunt May? I was being sarcastic, of course. And, yeah, the thing is, though, I just can't picture Melissa Tomei playing Aunt May. I think that's just ridiculous. I mean, they've been rebooting that movie, I think, 3 times already now. That'll be the 3rd time. And, I liked when Woody, who did it beforehand, really famous actress. I'm going to see if I can find it. Because there was some of the other actresses who played Aunt May were really good. Sally Field, yeah, okay, I just had to look at her face and I knew. Now, Sally Field is an incredible actress, and I thought she did a really good job with Aunt May. I actually liked the woman who originally played Aunt May. But now you're taking Marissa Tomei, who's like an incredible looking woman, and you're going to make her into Aunt May. I mean, I'm sorry, it just does not work for me. I know he's going to be younger. Spider-Man, he looks like he's going to be about 12. He's not. I think the kid's like 18. But I'm looking at it now, yeah, and you look at Marissa Tomei, she's like incredible looking. And you want her to play Aunt May, it doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. To me, it's like taking a woman from Playboy or something like that, and having them play like a grandmother. It just does not work. I don't know. I don't know what people think sometimes when they make these changes or modernize or whatever. So it may be the last story I'll tell, because that just depressed me too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy to see it, but it's actually becoming less and less. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch base. I didn't have much to talk about anyway. I actually want to watch a couple more episodes, probably at least one more, before I do go to bed this early morning, before the sun comes up like it normally does by the time I go to bed. On saying something on my iWalter show. So everyone, I think I'm going to sign off, because I'm basically just I'm basically talking about really, really, really not talking about anything. So everyone have a good Thursday morning. This week went really fast. We had a shutdown in my building this week, so I basically come in, I can just watch movies or goof off and get paid for it, which is going to stop by the end of this week, which is only 2 more days left, today and tomorrow, and that's it. So by next week, I'll be up and complaining about my job. But for now, I am signing off for this Thursday morning.